how do we get things done that we're just not getting done? You know, the stuff that we know we need to accomplish, we know we need to push out, whether it's content, exercise, telemarketing, prospecting. We know we need to make it happen, but we just don't have the willpower to get it done. Guys, my name is JC, owner of one of the fastest growing agencies in the US today, and I welcome you to my channel. Make sure that if you like this video, subscribe, hit the bell button, hit a like button, do all that type of stuff that you do here on YouTube. And with that being said, let's jump right in. So mentor, coach, we've been working together a long time, founder of Unbreakable, leadership director at Hite. You're doing a lot of stuff. But talk to me. First off, go ahead.
No, I don't do that much, but go ahead.
Talk to me about the backstory though, because I know we're gonna get into a lot of good stuff, but I wanna know where you came from, like this journey from the beginning. Where did it start? And how did you get to this moment?
How did I get to this moment? Wow, that's just a little part of the beginning?
Just a little part.
I guess I've always been, yesterday I was actually answering a question on an application that I have to talk about my life and my professional history. So I actually put that I was always a seeker of truth. Like I would always study philosophy. Even when I was a bad student in high school, I was always reading self-taught philosophy, different ways of thinking, politics. So I'd say that I was always a seeker of truth. I remember I read a quote by William Blake that said, "You must create your own system or be the slave of another man's." And I really grasped onto that. But I was like 15, so grasping onto that at 15 will get you in trouble.
15 years old?
15 years old, yeah. I was
Holy
reading
cow.
some really heavy stuff at 15 years old. 1984, Lord of the Flies, The Catcher in the Rye, just Che Guevara, socialism, just reading a bunch of stuff.
We were in very different places at 15.
Yeah. So, but I was also getting in a lot of trouble, partying a lot, being very rebellious. So how did I get to this moment? I always point to when I was 22 and I started a transformation process. I started in my own self-development. That's when I say that my self-development started, when I was 22. And at that time, I started working in a leadership center. Mm-hmm. It was a cultural transformation and leadership center. And I started working there as a facilitator, not really looking for the content of what was being done there. It was more about like the mechanics. So I was picking stuff up, organizing stuff. We do ropes course, or tie people up, do the ropes course, safety. But then I really got into the content of self-development, leadership. I started listening and I was like, whoa, this has an impact. So I started implementing those things in my own life and I started seeing them translate to results and mindsets and just principles and methods that I started implementing, internal tools, and I started seeing the results. Like I started living in a different way. And then I got this itch to, how do I share this with other people? How do I share this transformation with other people? And that's where coaching came up as a method, as a way. I remember the first time I read coaching, the definition of a coach. It was more of an answer to that question. I was already holding that question, like, how do I help people transform and discover this? You can't push people into it. You can't pressure people. You can't convince them by telling them, hey, you can do this. Oh, you got to find a way to really connect with them. So when I read about coaching was like, this is it. I'm going to train myself to be able to serve people, transform people. And then it just turned into leadership, because leadership is, if I work with the leader, then I can reach more people. The leader is like the leverage to impact more people. If I can transform leaders and they can lead in a different way and they can have a greater impact on people. So I committed to becoming a leadership coach and started training.
Now, you talk a lot about commitments, and that's what I want to really hone into today. And I feel like it's almost become a cornerstone of your entire philosophy. So why a commitment? What's the significance there?
Yeah, so you can't talk to me and not have me talk about commitment. Like, that's the starting point. So in leadership, this is what I was taught. My school of training taught me that the central act of leadership is declaring a commitment. And I'm convinced that there is no leadership without commitment. There is no development without commitment. So commitment is the starting point. I see commitment like an endpoint and a starting point. It's an endpoint in that moment when you're going to commit. It's like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm done with this, whatever. It's over. This is it. This is the moment where it's an endpoint, and then I'm going to do this. This is I'm going to commit to this. So it's a starting point also. So to me, that moment of declaring that commitment is an endpoint and a starting point. It's the central act of leadership. It's the central act of development. There is no development without commitment. So you cannot speak to me and not, or work with me. I mean, that's the first thing we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do if we're going to work is, what are you committed to? I'm going to guide you to be able to connect, because we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but it's about connecting to what you're committed to. It's about discovering, revealing what it is that you're actually committed to.
Now, you said two words there. You said declaring a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of us make goals.
Yeah.
Which one might think very similar, making a goal, declaring a commitment, but I think you would disagree. Talk to me about the differences there between someone making a goal.
Yeah, so maybe it's not about disagreeing, but just the language that I've been taught. So the language is really powerful. So language makes a whole world of difference, especially when you're talking about coaching and development and transformation. The language we're using, I've learned that it's very important. So a commitment is a declaration. That's all it is. It's a declaration of something that I'm going to make, that I'm going to fulfill on. It's a promise, either to someone or to myself, of something that I'm going to make a reality. We can get into this whole conversation. Oh yeah, but that's like setting goals. Yeah, some of it can be like setting goals. But for example, we don't just talk about a commitment. I talk about a noble commitment. Like, if I want to coach today, I don't just want to coach somebody that's committed to a goal. I want to coach somebody that's committed to something noble. I want to help leaders fulfill on noble commitments. And that to me just means that they're committed to something that's not just about themselves. It's about others. It's about being a resource to others, about serving others. Mm. And the interesting part here, the way, in this, again, it's to generate understanding. I don't want to explain it like this is it. This is the definition, but this is my understanding of it, is that I have a noble commitment, that it's a life commitment. I might not fulfill it fully in life, but I'm going to be fulfilling it constantly through life. So for example, I'm committed to training noble warriors for these times. I'm committed to training noble warriors for a very severely complex and adverse world, right? So I can be training noble warriors, which is just noble leaders, for the rest of my life. Like, I can be doing that, and that can carry me through the different stages of my life. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So there's a life commitment, a life noble commitment that you're probably not going to fulfill on, but it's going to carry you through your life. It's going to be with you. Well, yeah, sort of like that.
It's what drives you over complexity or pain and all this other things, right?
Well, so if we're going to declare a commitment, there's certain criteria that I use, and I think by using the criteria, it'll explain itself. Maybe it'll be explained better. One, when you declare a commitment, it's got to be challenging. So again, people might just say, okay, but that's like a goal, like a challenging goal. Yeah, we'll see. So it's got to be challenging. So in other words, when I declare it, there's sort of this sensation of, did I say that out loud? Am I really saying that out loud? That's what I'm going to do? I'm going to commit to training noble warriors for a severely adverse world. What does that mean if I say that? Like, there's got to be a sense of fear to it, a sense of, wow, sounds challenging. Yeah. Two, it's challenging because you can't keep on being the same person you were before. You can't keep on leading, behaving, thinking, operating. Like once you declare a commitment, it's over. Like you got to start being congruent with it. So you got to let go of a lot of stuff. You got to start making sacrifices. You got to start exposing yourself. But in that moment, you can't continue being the person you were before. Like that commitment's going to require that you change. The commitment becomes a vehicle for your transformation. So a good commitment transforms you.
Yeah.
But again, we come back to language. This isn't about change. Change and transformation to me is not the same thing. Change is, I can change the way I talk. I can change the way I dress. I can change because I have a goal to carry out a business. But it's not necessarily authentic all the time. Like change doesn't necessarily mean authentic. It can be inauthentic. I can become somebody that I'm not. I can change in ways that aren't aligned with who I really am. To me, transformation is about becoming who you were meant to be. Like transformation is actually connecting to your essence and really becoming the full person, like fully the person that you were meant to be. So it's not inauthentic. It's not the same thing as change. It's more of connecting to who you really are. So your commitment that you declare has to become the vehicle for your transformation. So the place where you're declaring a commitment from has to be really connected to your essence. Can you see that? That makes sense?
Yeah. And when you have this commitment, it helps us to drive through, I guess, and just process through difficulties, burdens, pain. I think we've given the example before of McDonald's, so to speak, of how many of us would go work at McDonald's? Not many of us. That would be like, oh, really? But if our kids were hungry, would you go work at McDonald's? Like, done. Like, yeah, of course.
No
my
doubt.
Commitment to my kids is huge.
So I think it's Bon Jovi is making a song right now, and there's a line on it that goes to that. It's like, when you can't do what you want to do what you can do. So when you can't do what you want to do what you can do. So that sort of speaks into what you're saying. It's like, when I can't do what I want to do, I'm going to go do what I can do. And if it's working at McDonald's, then that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to do whatever I can in this moment. But going back to, for that the commitment gets you through difficulty is, okay, so it's a vehicle for your transformation. And I call it an unbreakable commitment. So that means that in good and in bad, it's still pertinent. Like, if I'm committed to training noble warriors for a severely complex world, and when the economy's good and everything's working good, that's pertinent. We need noble warriors. We need noble leaders. But when things collapse and things go bad, it's still pertinent. Like, I still got work to do. I still got to go fulfill on that. Even sometimes it's even more work to do. It's like, now it's more important. Now I got to go double down on this and really, like, this is when the world needs it the most. So I believe that there should be a criteria that your commitment should get you through the good and the bad. Like, when the bad comes, it's not like, so here's the difference between a goal or a very superficial commitment is that when things get bad, it's like, oh, I can't sell right now. I can't build my business. I'm just going to wait for things to get good again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we made a goal of doing a 30-day yoga challenge. And this morning I was too tired. I ran my 3 miles and I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I certainly wasn't committed to it as much as she was.
Yeah. You were trying it out.
I was trying it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the commitment, it's going to become a vehicle for your transformation. It's going to get you through the good and the bad. But here's the part that we talk about goals, and the difference between goals and commitment is that the commitment, the noble commitment that I declare I need to be able to establish what I call islands on the horizon. So I have this metaphor of us floating in a world, and if we don't have islands on the horizon, we get overwhelmed, we get anxious, we get stressed, we get depressed, we have existential crisis. So if we don't have goals, we will suffer, we will get overwhelmed, we will have this existential crisis, and we don't have direction. So we need to establish islands on the horizon, we need to establish goals. And having a noble commitment, having an overarching commitment in my life, gives me that capacity to put islands on the horizon. So I want to train noble warriors. I need my own training method. So now I got to work on that. Once I have my own training method, it's like, okay, now how do I start promoting it? And now that I have my own training method, now I want to write my book on the training method. Now that I have the book, I want to take the book online, or I want to take the course online. So now I want my So I have these islands, these goals, but it's always being guided by that central commitment. How do I train people to be noble warriors in an adverse world? Those are the goals that I set. Like, how do I establish these milestones that I need to reach to be able to be fulfilling on? Makes sense? Like a podcast, a book, an online course, etc. Yeah. So a good commitment is going to give me the capacity to see those next islands on the horizon really quickly. So I won't be like, oh, what's next? No, you'll know what's next. And when things collapse, it's like my island on the horizon was taking my method outside regional, in the region outside Nicaragua and in the Central American region. And I was doing that. I was fulfilling on it. And then things collapse. And it's like, oh, you got to pivot. You got to change fast. It's like, okay, this isn't going to work right now. I got to take it online, and I got to take it online quick. And that's the next island on the horizon. So having a good, clear commitment connected to my essence, it's going to transform me, and it's going to help me establish islands on the horizon, which are goals and milestones. Make sense?
Yeah.
And the other criteria is that it integrates everything. Everything in my life becomes I don't want to use the word vehicle again, but it becomes, it feeds into my capacity to fulfill on that commitment. So you were talking about doing yoga. So if I do yoga, doing yoga is going to build my capacity. It's going to be connected to me being better able to fulfill my commitment. Now, I'm a surfer, and I believe surfing gives me a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And it's a practice for me where I develop, but I also build my capacity to fulfill my commitment. And so on and so forth. Everything I do actually feeds into it, integrates into that. Nothing's happening on the outside, like people separate their lives. They have it compartmentalized. Like I go to work, then I go to exercise, then I go here, then I go to yoga. But what they do in yoga, they're not taking it to work. So here, my belief is that as we coach somebody, declaring their commitment, make sure that it's connected to their essence, that should become a vehicle for their transformation. And then everything around their life integrates to actually being able to build their capacity to fulfill on that. And life becomes integrated.
It's not I have a commitment. I am.
That's the word. Again, we go back to language.
Yeah.
Most people would say, oh, I'm committed to this. No, we say, I am the commitment to training noble warriors. Because we become our commitment.
Yeah.
We actually become the things we are committed to.
Yeah.
So we can see we have unconscious commitments like laziness, and we're perfecting laziness, and so we need to become conscious of what we're committed to, because that's what we become.
Yeah.
Our commitments, we become our commitments. We become the sum of our commitments.
Now I want to switch just a little bit. I want to pivot a little bit. I want to talk about ice baths, because I think that's a fun part of all of this. But before we talk about ice baths and how that kind of is incorporated in there and what is it symbolic for, how do we create a commitment? Like, how do we actually go through that process of determining what am I committed to? Like, what do I even want to do?
Yeah.
'Cause I think a lot of people are in this stage.
So I have a belief that discovering your commitment shouldn't be a journey. Like, it shouldn't be, oh my God, I need to discover my commitment. It's going to take time. I'm really getting into this, even though that's what we make it. I mean, that's definitely what we default to, is making it like, oh, I got to go in this discovery journey of what I'm committed to. I think if we have the courage to just get really connected to ourselves, it's about responding to what it is you want. What do you want? And again, most people say, oh, I don't know what I want. And there's a part of me that's a little hard on people in this aspect, because I say, no, I don't believe that. I believe we can all connect to what we want, what we desire, but we're just too scared to do that. Because if we do, we'll discover, remember the first thing, that when we declare a commitment, there's fear, because it's going to change who I am. I can't keep on being the same person I was before. So if I say it, then I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Once I say it, it's like, oh, I have to leave this relationship, leave my job, leave this country, leave this area, leave myself. I have to sacrifice a whole bunch of things. So I believe, the questions are pretty simple. What are you committed to? What is it, the questions that I ask, it's really direct. It's what is it that you're committed to? What is it that you want? The second is for the sake of what? Why is it important? So what are you committed to? Why is it important? For the sake of what? Why is this important? And 3 is who's going to benefit from this? If you commit to this, who's going to benefit from this? And at the beginning, if it's just you, but the benefit is like your mental health, your own happiness, your own wellness. Like if I leave this job and I go do this, it's me, I'm going to benefit. At the beginning, that might be the obvious response, but in the long run, it will benefit other people.
Yeah.
Like 1, you'll give courage for others to do the same thing. But 2, in that path, wherever it is that you're going, you're going to be better service to others. You're going to be able to impact others. You're going to be a better person. So in the end, I think it does serve others to start serving yourself.
It's got to be worthy, almost.
Yeah. So the question is, what are you committed to? What do you want? You asked me, how did I get to this moment? That's a long story, but the initial commitment that got me here was, I just want to serve. That's all I want to do. I just want to serve. And if you ask me, there could be a whole story around how that happened. But the fact that if I didn't commit to just, and I became a surf and adventure tour guide, and that's what I did, even though my parents were like, go study, go do something. I was like, no, I just want to surf. I didn't even want to make money. I wasn't thinking about sales. I wasn't thinking about business. I was just thinking, how do I surf? Mom and dad aren't going to support me. I just want to surf. So I started making things up. I was like, okay, the first thing I need to do, the islands on the horizon. And I started setting them up. And then at one point I discovered, okay, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I guess it turned into, I want to serve. I don't want to surf, I want to serve. But but if I hadn't had the courage to go do that, I wouldn't have had the courage to just declare what I do today. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all I was building, the universe is really unique in how it works, how it emerges, how things emerge. And it's like, if that capacity to declare that commitment and go do it was the capacity I needed to actually build myself. And today I have the capacity to declare things very easily. I don't hesitate, I don't doubt. I'm just like, okay, I'm committed to this now. I'm going to bring this in. This is the next island on the horizon. I'm going to go after it. But I think right now I'm really clear about, really connected to that life-sustaining commitment that it's going to carry me through my life. And it changes once in a while. Like suddenly when there's a crisis or collapse, I'm like, oh no, it's noble warriors. Well, before it was, I am the commitment to being a resource to others. And then it's like, no, I'm committed to declare to training noble warriors. So now I don't just want to work with people who just want to fulfill on goals. I want to work with people that want to fulfill on noble commitments. And that's who I want to serve. So you evolve, and it guides you through life.
How does so we do a lot of ice baths and you do them every week, a couple times a week, I don't know. What does that do exactly for you? Like, is there a specific, I know there's maybe some health reasons or that, but how does that relate to commitments? And what is the symbolism there?
So when you're committed to something, you need to become congruent with it. You need to become compatible. And when I say you need to become, it's like your whole being, because your whole conditioning has to be at the same level of the commitment you're declaring for it to even be able to manifest. Like Einstein said, we need to vibrate at the same frequency of the reality we want to create. That's kind of, quantum physics stuff right there, but we need to vibrate at the same frequency as this commitment. And I'll get back to the ice bath, but when we have a commitment, it's good to design a vision, like to create a vision of, if I fulfill on this commitment, what will my reality be like? So if I become this trainer of noble warriors and I have all the book and the systems and everything set up, the method and the school and the community, what will my reality be like? And really get a clear vision of that. And then, okay, how do I become capable of fulfilling on this? So now I need to become compatible and congruent and vibrate at the same frequency of this reality that I'm declaring. And there, I need to start building myself up. I need to start building up my character. I need to start building up my beliefs. I need to build my nervous system. So to me, the ice bath is just this vehicle for my developing character. So more than, I don't do it because there's different reasons people get an ice bath. One is athletes get in it to inflammation?
Yeah.
Yeah, to treat, after they train, they treat themselves. But I've seen athletes get in the ice bath and over suffer. Like they're in there like, they're not. So I would say they're not doing it right. You know, they're strong physically, but they're in the ice bath like, for 2 minutes because they have to do it.
Yeah.
The other is, it changes your physiology. It develops your immune system, makes you stronger, like physiologically. And then for me, it's about character. It's about building character. It's about not complaining, being calm in an adverse situation, being in control of myself, exposing myself to something really crappy and finding growth and meaning. It's almost spiritual, it's almost like a meditative state. And so I was inspired by Wim Hof to, following Wim Hof and the Wim Hof method. I was inspired to start doing this in my life. And I didn't know what it was going to become, but then it just became a vehicle for my development, my character development. And I just saw it like a really cool vehicle to develop and become more congruent with that commitment. But surfing could be the same thing. Running could do the same thing. I run without music because, and this is something we spoke about before this interview. You were talking about people being lazy and, I got my system and my system does the work for me. So one thing I learned recently from somebody else I was following is that applications, systems, all these hacks, they actually make us weaker. They don't make us stronger. Like, obviously, if I give my kid a calculator to do his math homework, he's not going to develop the mental toughness in math because he's just giving it to the calculator. So he's not building he's not thinking.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. When I run, I'll run without music because the music makes it easier to run. I don't want it to be easier. I want to find my own mental motivation. I want to be able to motivate myself to give those 5 miles or 10 miles or whatever it is. I don't want to find the right song that's going to get me happy so that I can make it. No, I want to go naked. Like,
you're training. You're preparing.
Yeah, but not for running. I'm using running as a vehicle. Remember, everything starts integrating. Everything becomes integrated. So I run and I'm training so that I can be able to train noble warriors in an adverse world. So same thing with meditation apps. There's a whole bunch of guided meditation apps. And they're good at the beginning. But once you've been guided, you got to start using your own mental toughness to meditate. So let me see you find your own calm without using the app. Let me see you find your own stability without the app. So the apps are good when you're weak, but then you need to become strong. And I use that metaphor in everything I do. So the ice is just another vehicle. Running is a vehicle for me. Surfing is a vehicle. Breath holding is a vehicle. Holding my breath. They're all the same to me. The ice doesn't stand out more than the others. But they're all connected to building my character, building myself up. Yeah.
What are we willing to fight for? When we get in the ice, we're taking on this pain. We're taking on the struggle, the frustration. Nobody likes, I've gotten in the ice now 100 times. It's not even, it doesn't get easier. You would think it would get easier, but mentally it gets easier, I would say, right?
Well, to me, not even.
No?
I guess the overriding capacity gets easier.
Yeah.
Like the capacity to say, this is not a debate.
Yeah.
I'm not debating with myself. I think I told you that once. You said something like, I think you were stopping drinking Coca-Cola or something.
Probably.
And you were thinking about it.
Yep.
And you told me something like, I haven't drank, but I'm really thinking about it. I'm like, stop debating. It's a no, and that's it. There's no debate.
Yeah.
It's like cutthroat. You're getting in the ice. Yep. Like again, like whenever I did the workshop and I had the ice, I would start debating. Should I get in? Should I not? Should I get in? Should I not? I've gotten in. It gets harder because you already done it. So it's like, I've already done it so many times. Why am I going to do it again? So then I ended that and just said, if there's time, there's ice, you're getting in. And that's it. That's a way to go around my mental weakness. And everything that has to do with my commitment. My commitment is the overarching. I don't decide. My commitment decides. So if somebody proposes something like going on a video and doing an interview, and it's connected to my fulfilling my commitment, I don't have a choice. Even though I'm uncomfortable and I'm anxious and I don't want to do it. If you're committed, you're always going to be uncomfortable, anxious. It's always going to be there's always going to be discomfort. If you're really committed to something, you're going to rarely be in your comfort zone doing things. You're always going to be on the edge.
So tying this back to digital marketing or entrepreneurship or anything in life, the commitment has to be grand. It has to be so incredibly amazing that it's worth fighting for. It's worth going through crap and overcoming pain and overcoming obstacles. It's got to be worthy.
It's got to be worthy. I don't know if it has to be grand. It's got to be a higher standard than where you are now. It's got to challenge you. It doesn't have to be save the world, but it's got to be that next. It's got to build you. It's got to build you. It's definitely got to build you up. Spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like there are people who are committed to grand stuff, but they're not being built spiritually. They're not being built as, it's not, they're just goals. They're just superficial, and they're going to break easily from my point of view. It's going to be, because what we need now from my perspective is noble leaders. We need leaders who are serving collectively, that are at service of everything. It's humanity. We can't keep on building. Look at the world, my friend. Look at where it's at.
Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's not sustainable.
Your commitment is training, developing, growing noble warriors.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of noble warriors probably watching this. Where do they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Jose Bolaños Coach. That's like my main go-to social network right now.
Okay. We'll put that in the comments below.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I would invite them to follow me on Instagram. Right now, most of it is in Spanish. I tell them, bear with me. Like challenge themselves to follow something outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I do coaching online in English at distance. Well, I am going to be taking all these projects and this context and everything in both languages. So I guess that's my next island on the horizon.
Yeah.
Is having everything in English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, to reach more people.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Awesome.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell button. Again, all those YouTube things. If you're interested in following Jose, we'll put those in his links to his website, Instagram, all that good stuff in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you again.